Suffolk and Essex, Steel Avenger.
That name alone is reason enough for me to like Steel Avenger. Now, I said I liked suicidal tendencies, and yeah, I still do, but honestly, I do prefer his tag team Terra partner. And why not? The robot made by Team Steel Avenger, genius name whoever thought of that, who served in 4 UK wars and 2 Robot Wars Extreme series, armoured with what you expect to be 100% steel, but instead being made of aluminium and polycarbonate bulletproof casing, the armour which is used for things like vehicles like the F-22 Raptor aircraft, as well as being made of stainless steel panels. The one thing which has always stayed the same about the Steel Avenger is its main weapon, a gigantic pneumatic axe on the top of its body, which is powerful enough to cut through even the toughest of armour, and even cut through one of King B's Powerworks wheels in a single strike. Over the years, the robot has had a scoop on its back, and come the end of the 5th Wars, obtained moving forks on its side of its armour, which would act as self-righting mechanisms, kind of like X-terminator. This robot does sound pretty invincible. What's the problem with it? One problem, and one problem alone. If it's turned on its side against the wall. In most of the battles the Steel Avenger loses, it's usually because he's been turned on his side and is pinned against the arena fence. His fight with Robo Chicken comes to mind. There are many things that are likeable about the Steel Avenger and his team, and that one weakness won't stop him being a good robot, despite the fact he never reached a series semi-final at any point. And don't get me started on that rainbow coloured feather duster. God, I love that rainbow coloured feather duster.
So let the wars begin!
Out of all the robots introduced in Series 2, the one I really wanted to do well the most was Ivanhoe. And I don't really know why. The combination of the Blowhog from Pikmin and the Daleks was just an interesting robot to me, so I was sad not to see him return for Series 3. And when they returned for Series 4, they had a much different robot from what I remembered. And it was a doozy.
From Norwich, Splinter.
Splinter wasn't your average robot. It was another static robot like 101, but its spikes were used more in the way of a pincer robot like Can Opener. Splinter was made from a welded steel frame and aluminium checker-plated armour, which is my favourite kind of armour simply due to how shiny it is. I like shiny, and because it's strong against swinging weapons like axes or hammers, but it is very weak to spinning weapons, as it found out in the most destructive Battle of Robot Wars I have ever seen. I'll talk a little more about that later. It also has high traction tyres driven by Bosch motors, which were then later replaced with a 750 watt electric motor. Like I said, it has a pair of pincer axe-like weapons, but they have the attack capacity of spikes, as they are used more to scratch the opponents, and occasionally grab hold of them. It's one of the more unique weapons I've seen in Robot Wars, on par with the original weapon of Bigger Brother, that weird scorpion tail thing. And after Splinter got annihilated in Season 4, it was fitted with an axe on its top to attack robots directly. This helped it survive against Hypnodisc and the Annihilator, as well as Thermidor 2 and X-terminator, until it got defeated by Pussycat before the final round. Splinter may have only lasted until Series 5, but it was still a great robot that Stuart and Craig Waitman should be proud of. I really want to say more about Splinter, but all I've mentioned is really all that's worth noting down about him. He's a durable robot, just not too good against spinners.
So let the wars begin! From Bournemouth, seed number 3, Razer.
I can only imagine what all the Razer fans are thinking at this particular moment. Now, before I get flack as to why he's barely gotten into the top 10, just let me explain. First off, let me point out that I just love this robot. The winner of the Best Design Award for 4 years running, UK Championship champion, European Championship for 2 years running, International champion twice, All-Star champion twice, Southern Annihilator winner and Pinball champion for Series 3? Yeah, frankly, there is no wonder Razer has the title Ultimate Warrior, given to only 3 robots in the history of Robot Wars. Now I will agree, this robot does undoubtedly look really cool. Metallic bird with a self-righter which resembles bird wings, with over 30 holes pierced through its beak like pincer, which contains 3 tons of pressure at the front and 9 tons at the back, all made of steel and powered by aluminium chassis. Razer is probably the most impenetrable robot ever to be put into Robot Wars as well, really only ever been sliced apart by its eternal rival Pussycat. Yeah, I do prefer Suicidal Tendencies design a bit more than Razer's, but the main reason I don't have Razer any higher is for one simple reason. His fights are predictable. With robots like Chaos 2, you can always wait to see what he will do next, as he's a fast robot who can flip people about like it's nobody else's business. And Hypnodisc as well, the way he would destroy his foes will be different each time due to the size of his blade. Razer just has the same strategy each time. Just reach the opponent, pierce them, either grab or hold them and keep attacking them until they're immobilized, or until the match ends. This strategy is no doubt genius, flawless, and it works practically all the time, but after a while you will get bored of it. Still a fantastic robot, and unlike a lot of the robots which lasted throughout the majority of the show, Razer was actually a robot which got better as time went on. Chaos 2 and Hypnodisc just kind of went downhill afterwards, but Razer just kept getting better and better. He's probably got the longest fight record out of any robot as well, with a grand total of 45 UK battles, and with his humongous beak weapon, was the first robot to officially kill a house robot when he put Matilda out of action in the final of the Southern Annihilator. This is the reason he has some deserving fans, and I can only imagine their faces when they found out he wasn't in the 7th Wars. Ian Lewis, Simon Scott and Vincent Blood truly made a robot that will be remembered in shows like this and Battle Wars. Well done, fellas.
So let the wars begin!
From Costasy, Thermidor 2.
When a robot is based off an animal, they usually don't do too well in the wars. But there was always an exception I could always think of. Thermidor 2. And frankly, out of all the full-on flipper robots, Thermidor 2 might as well be my favourite. Big Brother, Wheelie Big Cheese and Chaos 2, all of which Thermidor defeated in the Flipper Frenzy in the first series of Extreme, were pretty good, and other robots like Gravedigger and Atomic and Bulldog Breed were pretty cool. But Thermidor just had that charm and had the appearance of an animal but still looked threatening. Making his debut in Series 3, still as a lobster robot but equipped with claws instead of a flipper, yeah, Thermidor didn't do too well. But come Series 4 and a flipper, and he's capable of defeating enough robots to make Pussycat scared. But it wasn't until Robot Wars Extreme where Thermidor 2 became feared among the flipper robots, having a flipper arguably more powerful than Chaos 2. This flipper was almost powerful enough to flip the 120kg Sergeant Bash out the arena. He was successful in defeating many Robot Wars veterans with much more experience than he had. This includes Behemoth, or as they pronounced it, Behemoth, which had one of the greatest defeats ever in my opinion, Napalm, Stinger, and once again Chaos 2 and Bigger Brother, both at the same time no less. This was thanks to a full CO2 gas powered flipper that could lift a ton, which was just complete with a pair of angry eyes on top of the flipper, kind of like the crazy bear from F-Zero. As for where the name Thermidor comes from, it's apparently named after the French lobster dish, which consists of a creamy mixture of cooked lobster, meat, egg yolks and brandy, stuffed right into a lobster shell. I'm sure that tastes good, but I don't plan on eating it. I just guess Team Lobster liked a tasty dish of Thermidor. But this robot is all the Thermidor I need, and it's one of the only reasons I kept watching Series 7, as he was one of the only veterans which made it into the series semi-finals, before getting one-shotted by Typhoon.
So let the wars begin!
You know, X-terminator went through a lot of transformations during his 4 wars in Robot Wars. I mean, his overall body type may have stayed the same, sure, but his colouring and weapons have changed every time. He started as a red wedged-shaped box robot with a spiked axe to impale other robots and a front scoop to trap opponents. Then moving on to the white wedge robot with a red light and a lifting fork on its front. And Series 5 and 6 gave him a similar appearance in his original version, but the 37kg axe was enlarged and the self-righting spikes were replaced with small arms. And then Series 7 turned him into a court jester with a spinning blade and was
Can run yes.
over-fucking powered.
From Hereford and seeded number 22, X-terminator.
Yeah, like I said, X-terminator went through many transformations in his time, but his final version was by far my favourite version, and it's the proper reason I continue to watch Series 7. Armed with a small but immensely powerful spinning disc, which essentially had the cutting power of Pussycat and the force power of scratch that, not Hypnodisc, Matilda. That's how powerful he became. There's nothing more to say about the disc, other than the fact it was able to get X-terminator into the grand final on its first attempt, before getting beaten by Typhoon 2. Unfortunately, where X-terminator has unrivaled attack power within it, it suffers with most other stuff. For example, its speed went from 25 miles an hour to an embarrassingly slow 9 miles an hour. It also became much more vulnerable to flippers due to not having a Shri mech on its back. But honestly, good luck to any robot who had a flipper when trying to flip X-terminator. I mean, just ask Bulldog Breed about that. Or any of the other 3 robots which got spin smacked out of the arena. That's a word now. I believe that's a record for spinner robots. To be fair, all incarnations of X-terminator have been effective in some way, as most of them have gotten somewhat far. But this was just the X-terminator that could do the damage, which so needed to be caused, especially in the most destructive series of Robot Wars yet. And when you consider that Series 7 had a lot of its veterans knocked out pretty early on in the wars, it means a lot when a robot which only made the series semi-final once was able to get to the grand final just because of a new weapon. This new robot also apparently resembled a Dalek, but I think that's a coincidence. It's definitely a court jester, not a Dalek.